Alright guys, today what we're doing, this is a 720 motor, or it's actually called a 717 Sea-Doo motor. And what we're doing is, this is your rotary shaft. It has a gear that goes into the middle of the engine. Well, there's a cavity right here, and there's crank seals on either side of this cavity. The cavity must hold oil to lubricate that gear. So there's a seal right here, and there's a seal right here, and a seal in here. So before you build one of these engines, you want to see if your crank seal, your inner crank seals, I should say, are actually holding. So what I do is I take a nipple, just a rubber nipple, and I plug off the exit side that goes to the tank. And then over here, I connect a hose, and then I run it over to here, to this gauge right here, and you can pressure it up. I've got it a little high right now. 15 is way more than that's ever going to hold. Most people will say do about 11 pounds, and you let it sit for, I let it sit for about an hour. And if it doesn't bleed off, then you know that your seals are holding, and you can move forward and clean everything up, put new pistons in, and move forward with your build. If it bleeds off, that means your crank seals are bad, and it will leak oil into the crankcase, and it'll bring oil on top of your cylinder when you hit it and pour oil out the spark plug holes. So you always want to check to make sure. If I spray soapy water around this, if this seal's leaking, you can pull this gear out and put a new gear with a new seal in it, and then try it again. If it still bleeds off, then you know these seals are bad and you must get a new crankshaft, because they're made onto the crank, and they are expensive. So luckily this one's holding. It's been about, I let it sit for, I don't know, about an hour. You can let it sit overnight, some guys will say, but if it doesn't bleed down in an hour, it's probably not going to, especially when you have it at 14 pounds, 14 or 15 pounds. I don't think this thing running wide open would produce more than about 3 pounds or 4. So if it doesn't leak air, you know it's not going to leak oil. But always check before you build one of these engines, because you'll get this thing all together, new pistons, cleaned, painted, everything ready to go, put it in there, let it sit overnight, and it'll dump oil into the bottom of the case. You try to hit it, and then you pull the spark plugs, and it squirts oil 10 foot in the air. So I hope that helps.